Hello, beloved daughters of the King, and welcome back to Women Warriors of the Word and today's 5 Minutes of Faith. We talk a lot as Christians, or at least some of us do. It kind of goes around in circles about spending time with the Lord and creating an atmosphere for Him to speak to us so that we're not distracted, so that we can focus on His Word and on hearing His voice. But what does that look like to set an atmosphere? And one of the first things we need to set an atmosphere in is actually our own heart and our own thought, our own mindset. Waking up, sometimes we, especially as women, I think, well, I don't think that's fair. I think men do it too. But I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. The kids, the husband, the job, the house, the animals, the friends, whatever is racing through our minds when we first wake up, and then we begin to go into those tasks, probably right after your cup of coffee, which I have right behind me. But, we start to think about what we need to do. And a phrase that I am really working on in my own life is that God created us to be human beings, not human doers. So yes, there are responsibilities that each of us have throughout the day, but our primary purpose is to be in His presence. And to be in His presence is not to have to really do anything. But we are so used to getting up and getting things done, getting up and getting things done, getting up and getting things done. So I want to encourage you in this video of some tips and tricks to prepare yourself to just be in God's presence. First of all, bring your thoughts into His throne room. Say it out loud so that you can hear it and so that the spirit realm can hear it. I choose to bring my thoughts into the throne room of heaven. Say it again. I choose to bring my thoughts into the throne room of heaven. And what we do when we say that out loud is we speak it, we ourselves hear it, and the spirit realm hears it, which allows the battle to begin on our behalf in the world we don't see, but the world that we know affects our lives. We speak, we hear, and we affect the atmosphere around us. And what that does is it starts to drip into our heart a desire to bring ourselves into the throne room of heaven. You might have to say it out loud 10 times while you're putting your robe on and your slippers, or while you're in the shower before bed. Whatever the time is in your day that you are going to set aside for that intimate fellowship with God. It could be for 5 minutes. It could be for 45 minutes. God knows your heart and God knows your time frame. God also knows if you're making space for Him. So bring your thoughts into the captivity of the throne room of heaven and then just go. For me in my home, I go down into the basement. I take over my brother who comes over to work on Mondays, and I set myself apart from the rest of the house. For me, I can't wake up before everybody else because there are family members that live here that wake up before I do. And that's not something God has put on my heart. But before I start the tasks of the day, I do my best to spend time with Him. And like I mentioned, sometimes it's 10 minutes and then I got to get up and get ready. And sometimes I have an hour and a half and time just flies by. But the second tip I want to give you is to create the atmosphere in the physical. When we speak, I bring my thoughts into the throne room. We create an atmosphere within ourselves and in the spirit realm. And then when we set up the environment to be present. So behind me, it's not a big deal. It's not elaborate. It doesn't have candles and dim lights, but I do have the window open and I can hear the birds outside. I do have my water and my coffee and my Bibles. Now I am deep diving into Proverbs for the podcast, but you don't have to have 2 Bibles. And then this morning I incorporated my notebook. And I have set an atmosphere set apart from the rest of the house. And in this moment, I remember when my son was younger, it used to be on the bathroom floor. Because there was a door, I couldn't be interrupted. I could ask for 3 or 4 more minutes, and then I was all done. Kind of silly, but it worked because God sees your heart. So daughters of the King, I encourage you to speak out loud what your spirit desires Shift the atmosphere. Let your heart and your ears hear what your mouth is speaking. Set yourself apart from the tasks of your day. And before you start doing, just be with Jesus. You may read 5 scriptures, like 5 verses. You might plow through an entire chapter. You may just decide to go through Proverbs one day at a time. You may decide to follow along on the Women Warriors of the Word podcast and meditate 1 chapter 1 week at a time. God will touch your heart, but what is our part is to set the atmosphere in ourselves, in the spirit, and in our physical surroundings. God is waiting for you. Run to him. Until next time, daughters of the King, walk by faith.